Bitcoin is a new form of social institution, one that presumably has superior integrity, right? It basically, if integrity is doing what you say you will do, right? For the U.S. government, for instance, maybe it's following the U.S. Constitution. Well, Bitcoin only does what it says it will do. Like it literally can't do anything more or anything less. It's just open source code that executes exactly as written, basically. So it almost has this, I don't want to use the word perfect, but near perfect form of integrity relative to every analog age social institution we've ever had. What does that mean for this pattern? Like if Bitcoin, you have it labeled, is it fourth turning money, but does that mean it's not useful in the first, second, third turning? Like how does Bitcoin affect this pattern?
Definitely. Yeah, tongue in cheek on fourth turning money. It was Bitcoin was born in 08, 09 with the GFC at a time where no trust is here. We sort of outsourced the trust. There's a lot of like chintzy parallels there, I would say. But how does it fit in? I think one is we need order and we need a social institution. Money always has been. I think this one is unique. We call it perfect or otherwise. It is unique. And I think in our climate now, we need something for the whole spectrum of political beliefs to latch onto. And Bitcoin doesn't know who's interacting with it. It can't censor a certain group of people because it doesn't even know who's using it, right? So it is an entirely neutral public infrastructure. And that's the type of social institution that we can all rally around. And so I'm bullish on that idea, properly understood, and over time it's accelerating that understanding across society. Now, is it only in the fourth turning, or is it a first turning money? Can it last long term? I think this is a really interesting question. I think let's start going backwards. If we're in a first turning, supply of order is high, demand is high. Pretty much society works. The middle class is rising, inequality is low, violence is down. Generally, things are good. There'd be no appetite for a wrench in the system, burn it all down, new money. Because let's be honest, trust is cheap. We want to, sorry, that's a wrong way to say it. Trust is expensive, but it's easier for society if we can just trust the institution.
Of course, yeah.
Right?
It's more efficient for us to just trust and not, verification's costly.
That's right.
If we could just trust, that would be efficient, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when times are good, we don't need it theoretically. So in my opinion, Bitcoin could only emerge in a third or fourth turning.
Of course, has to.
It has to. It wouldn't be adopted.
Right.
Otherwise, and it can emerge in a third turning, but it wouldn't be adopted because we don't need the
pain.
We need the pain, and we haven't realized we need a change yet. So it has to emerge and has to be adopted in a fourth turning. Now the next question is Bitcoin, and I've been thinking about this, writing about this, totally unpublished, but is Bitcoin a 50-year money or a 500-year money? The numbers are arbitrary-ish, but if you look at the last 100 years, it's not just like gold standard fiat. There was fractions and like half steps along the way. Roughly every 30 to 50 years, we've redone it. Pre-Federal Reserve to Federal Reserve to Bretton Woods system to gold standard, come off the gold standard to a petrodollar system to whatever we're doing now. And so the question would be, does Bitcoin just buy us 50 years of monetary sovereignty? And in which case, would it be a good thing? Yes. But it's always an arms race here, right? Satoshi had a quote like, in the arms race against the encroaching state, Bitcoin will buy us some time. Right? I think I'm a little more bullish on Satoshi, but it's the right question to ask. Because Bitcoin could be a 50-year money, and then that as an institution decays. What if the hodlers of last resort, the self-sovereignty, the self-custody element, 3 generations goes by and nobody understood the fight it took to save the money, to bring money back as a public good. And then we just let the culture
the demand of order declines.
Demand of order decline. Bingo. And then we just let it fail. So I think there's a real chance for that. I also, and then you might ask, how we preserve it? Do we go like the Catholic Church and have like a priesthood class that passes the secrets? Do we do, I don't know. There's lots of historical ways to approach this. But what I don't know the answer. I don't have a strong opinion. But what I do strongly believe is this is the first monetary system that theoretically has a chance to go for 5,000 years or 500 years. I think gold would be the analog here, because gold is the thing on the planet we found that best acts as money. No wonder why it lasts so long.
Yeah.
In a digital age, we have to discover the thing that is best suited as money. And I think it pretty clearly is Bitcoin. And if so, we might have this thing for many fourth turning cycles. Maybe through the stars, maybe through the next stage of humanity, if we can get off our rock. And that's pretty exciting to think about. But the future is not written. I think, in my opinion, the hardcore Bitcoiners who are probably bored of the day-to-day topical, myself included, I think the next fight is, okay, let's win this short-term battle. And I think we have a really good chance of it being $100 trillion asset or some version of like the bedrock of society. I think we have a good shot at that. But after that, how do we preserve the values? How do we make sure this thing doesn't decay when demand for order goes down?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And it sort of begs, it kind of begs a deeper analysis of the relationship between supply and demand, right? Because there is this economic incentive to maintain the orderliness or the integrity of Bitcoin as a social institution that is somewhat independent of demand for order. You know, like maybe everyone's sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but that doesn't mean people are going to stop having demand for money or a demand for, deploying capital into Bitcoin mining, right? There's still going to be financial incentives to do these things. So maybe that orderliness in the social institution of Bitcoin can persist despite a decline in demand for order. Maybe that could be the difference in this turning cycle versus past turning cycles. But
yeah, I think if I can piggyback off that, I think the way we would know is imagine a world where Bitcoin is, let's just say, the base layer of an economic monetary system. If let's just think about it, if demand goes down, what would change? Like, can Bitcoin be the bedrock of a monetary system? We don't know that yet.
Sure.
I think there's a good line of reasoning where it does, but I think that's what we'll find is as the tides shift, is it actually good money throughout time? Or are we fooling ourselves because the environment we are in, we demand this type of money?
Yeah.
And is it wartime money? I've heard people say that because it's very Spartan. It's very costly to verify. It's well engineered, but you would never pay the high cost of decentralization unless you needed it.
Yeah.
And so what that would mean to me is we have to like cement the base layer thing, and we have to build extreme amounts of abstraction on top of this. That's the only way it becomes a peacetime money as well, because otherwise it's too costly.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, click here to find more just like it, and here to find our most recent episode. Also, make sure to like this video to help shine light on the corruption of money, and be sure to subscribe to this channel to stay connected.